It is very important for me to bear out my mind on this issue of PDP's gubernatorial primaries that took place yesterday. To say the least about it, it was a complete sham. I have nothing personal against Jimmy Agbaje, but the truth of the matter is that if we must have a society that will be based on the rule of law and democratic principles, things must be done properly. The election right from the beginning was based on a very manipulative platform. Bode George started with intimidation and harassment of people, including my good self, Obanikoro. One of them, supposed to be a senator of the Federal Republic of Undue, issued a statement a day to the election that people should not vote for a Muslim, that it has been predetermined in Abuja that a Christian will be the candidate of the party in Lagos State. This, for me, is a very, very dangerous trend, given the fact that we've enjoyed religious harmony in Lagos State from the beginning of time. For the first time in our lifestyle in Lagos, Bode George and Ogunlewe have set a very bad precedent that I pray will not turn Muslims against Christians in Lagos State. And that's primarily why I ran this race, to show that in Lagos we are blind to religion. Yesterday, during the accreditation, people who were not meant to be accredited were accredited. When the voting proper started, people were called by their names. And after 5 minutes of doing that, the panel stopped doing that. We didn't realize that they were working to achieve a predetermined result. We protested that things should be done properly to give credibility to the process. But all wise counsel were dismissed. After the close of election, the Director General of Agbaje Campaign Organization came around and said he needed to vote. I stood up personally to say that you have announced the total number of accredited delegates to all of us, and voters were already gone. Despite my protest, Honorable Rahman Owokoniran was allowed to vote. I am convinced, beyond reasonable doubt, that the election yesterday was a predetermined result, ensuring Agbaje's victory at all cost. And I believe that the disparity in the accredited delegates was meant as option B to cancel the election if I were to emerge as the candidate. For me, I cannot in good conscience support the outcome of the election. The harassment, intimidation, to the point of even shooting at my supporters yesterday, that was organized by Bode George. Some of them were wounded. And as I speak to you now, one of his henchmen is in custody with the police for shooting some of my supporters in mainland local government during the House of Reps election. My nephew was stabbed by one of Bode George's thugs. He's still on the run. He abandoned his house, and the three of them are still living in Bode George's quarters now. This, to me, is unacceptable. This, to me, is highly condemnable. We will remain law-abiding. We will employ all the legal options to ensure that justice is done. We went in there hoping that the process will be transparent, credible, and fair to all. To have the chairman of the panel announced to the entire Lagos State delegates that he accredited 806, and at the end of the day issued out 848 ballot papers, and then the total accredited numbers jumped to 868, was sufficient for him to have cancelled the election. But as I've said earlier, because they are working towards a predetermined position, the man, despite a lot of protests from all the aspirants, with the exception of Mr. Baje, that this process should not continue because of the fraud in the accreditation. He insisted on going on with the counting to achieve the result that he was instructed to come up with. The fact that the chairman, the panel came from Abuja, seems to confirm what we had before the election by Ogunlewe, that they want a Christian candidate for Lagos and that it must be achieved at all costs. It is the general belief that of all the parties in Nigeria, that PDP has tried reasonably to be democratic, but this act that was perpetrated yesterday is far short of a party that stands for democracy. Now, may I also recall that in 2007, Bode George did almost the same thing in connivance with some officials of the party in 2007 to stop me from becoming the candidate of the party. And what transpired yesterday was so similar in nature to what transpired then. And I overheard Bode George talking about me introducing violence into it. That is far from the truth. He's actually the one that is sponsoring violence across the state, violence against anybody that stands against him. And he talked about the peaceful conduct of the 2011 within the PDP's party. I want to remind him that he was in prison when the 2011 election was conducted. That is why that process was peaceful. I do not want a repeat of what transpired since 1999 to repeat itself in 2015. That's why we are crying out loud. Bode George has never won his polling booth for this party. And a man who has never won his polling booth, never won his ward, never won his local government, does not have the credibility to take the party to the promised land. So let's reflect on the elections we've had in the last few days, particularly the Senate. For the Senate, my candidates, Adedosumu, Segun Adewale alias Eroland, and Mrs. Salis, won in all the 3 senatorial districts. I think with this outcome, they got worried to the point that they decided to do anything humanly possible to affect the outcome of yesterday's gubernatorial election. It's a statement of fact that their candidate, Hakeem Salvador, for the West, Princess Oyefusi for the East, and Engineer Gwajabi Amila for Central, lost to my candidates. As a result of that, the process of accreditation the following day was heavily manipulated to achieve the result that was finally announced as the authentic result for the gubernatorial primary. Given the outcome a day before of the senatorial elections, how can Jimmy now be the winner of the gubernatorial primary with that narrow margin? Evidently, our claim to being a party with a strong democratic ideals and principles is on the line, given the mockery that we are being subjected to as a result of the manipulation of the gubernatorial primaries yesterday. I am confident that this struggle is not about me. It is about the process. It is about our democratic experience. It is about building a society that will be based on justice, equity, and fairness. My commitment to justice is total, and I will ensure that justice is done. God bless you all. God bless Lagos State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.